Welcome to the Awareness Angle, simplifying cybersecurity awareness. This is a podcast that brings you the latest cybersecurity news from the past week and gives you the security awareness angle on it. All views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our employers. This week, we have football breaches, oversharing issues, Apple bites back in the UK, Google have new AI spam protection, GenAI prompts include sensitive data, what a shock, and so much more. There's lots to get through in this week's Awareness Angle. So welcome to the show. And with me as always is my partner in crime. It's Luke Pettigrew. Hello, Luke.
Hey, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Had a busy week, but it's nearly Friday.
Nearly Friday. Yeah, for the people listening to this, it's only just Monday. So, yes, thank God it's the weekend, but the weekend means we've got to write a newsletter and produce a podcast over the weekend to deliver it on Monday. So, woo. Yeah. Anything outstanding this week? Anything good?
Just a lot of stuff to get through, really. Nothing much to really report on, I don't think. It's just been a lot. Yeah.
Lots of little bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the feeling. I was lucky enough to get an opportunity I was invited to a roundtable dinner last week, hosted by Think Cyber, who are obviously red flags. And that was lovely. It was at the Ivy in London, and great group of people, great conversation. I've never been to the Ivy before. Lovely venue. And the conversation was really good. Lots of talk. It was a really good mix of people. And at times I struggled to get a word in edgeways, which is saying something. Yeah. So it was, it was good. Lots of opinion being flown around about security awareness and boards and stuff like that, which was good. But I got something new to add to the merch. So I have a nice thermally insulated water bottle from Red Flags. So thank you, Think Cyber, for inviting us. And thank you for the bottle as well. Shameless plug, Red Flags, nudge, shift, flow. There we go. This is not a sponsored segment, but thank you for inviting me. And if anyone else wants to invite me or Luke to anything, we'll give you a shameless plug. There we go. Yeah. Right, let's get on with the show. News. Let's hit the news. A couple of things to go through this week. Have you seen that Leeds United suffered a cyber attack?
Yeah, I did hear about that one.
Yes.
Has much been said?
So I was told about this. So I was told about this from a contact we have, Hayden, that KnowBe4 was chatting with me about something. We were chatting and he's like, oh, the Leeds have been hit. And it was like, oh no. And right then it was like there was one news article. So it was like hot off the press at this point. So, it's a 5-day assault is how it's been described by the Register in February, and stole card details of a small number of customers. So it took place between February 19th and 24th. Leeds haven't commented, at least this article. The Register asked Leeds for more details about how it was happened and how many were affected, but Leeds have declined to comment. But it did go on to say that those impacted have already been notified directly, and the club continues to liaise with the ICO. Forensic investigation was undertaken by a specialist third party as soon as they discovered the breach. So it looks like they've stopped it. Jake Moore, who's a global cybersecurity advisor at Slovak security shop ESET. God, I used to use their free antivirus, used to be amazing. I don't know what it's like anymore. I'm going back years. So Jake Moore from ESET claimed it's likely the attackers were able to lift card details using every transaction processed by the club shop in the 5 days it was compromised. So yeah, if you've bought something from Leeds shop online between the 19th and 24th of February and you haven't heard something, it might be worth getting in touch with them.
Yeah, check your bank statements as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's been a few sports Sports become a bit of a target because there's such money in sports. Bologna FC was hit by ransom hub in November. The San Francisco 49ers, in here it says, who play the other football, were also attacked in 2022 by extortionists at Black Bites. So football clubs are quite rich. There's a lot of money, and they're high profile. So it's they're probably quite a good target. We'll see whether or not there's anything else to come out of that story.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how they got in for that.
Yeah. Moving on tonight, Zapier. Have you heard of Zapier?
Yeah, I think so.
Zapier is, let me just confirm my knowledge. Zapier is the integration platform that you can integrate all different platforms together. They used to do really good Black Friday deals where stuff went really cheap on Black Friday. So Zapier, say someone's broken into its code repositories and may have access customer data. Now, why this one's interesting is because it says the customer data shouldn't have been there.
Right.
So the certain Zapier code repositories that someone gained access to contained customer data that had inadvertently copied to the repositories for debugging purposes. So this sounds like someone was trying to do something efficiently and maybe didn't stick to the policy. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know what's happened and I don't know Zapier's policies, so don't come for me. But the hacker was able to access the repositories because of a two-factor authentication misconfiguration on the employee's account.
Okay. I'd like to know what that means.
Well, we're writing to inform. Oh, hang on. Here's the full email obtained by The Verge. So this is in The Verge. Signed by Zapier Head of Security. We're writing to inform you of a security incident. Due to a two-factor authentication misconfiguration on an employee's account, an unauthorized user gained access to a certain Zapier code repositories. Normally, this would not impact our customers. Out of an abundance of caution, we audited the contents of the repositories and we found that in isolated instances, certain customer information had been inadvertently copied to the repositories for debugging purposes. So once they became aware of the issue, they immediately secured access to the repositories and invalidated the unauthorized user's access. So it did not affect any Zapier database infrastructure or production authentication or payment systems. So yes, they have reached out to those involved. But yeah, it's the angles here, like clearly data shouldn't have been there. So yeah. And a 2FA multi-factor authentication misconfiguration. I think they're lucky. Like, I think it potentially could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and if they've only accessed one system or repository, right? They didn't get much else from it. It looks of it.
Like, if you think about the standard, an MFA misconfiguration, maybe it wasn't on a general account, maybe it was just on that platform. I don't know. It's it's lucky that someone didn't get the keys to the kingdom, because then they could have brought the house down. Do you know what I mean? We've seen that before. It's funny, this completely unrelated, but this reminds me, I saw a post on LinkedIn and I think it was a case study. And you might have seen it when you're driving on the roads in the UK. Do you remember seeing the lorries, Knights of the Old Republic, or Knights of Old Republic?
Yeah.
They were a haulage firm. So I remember this now, about a year ago, they got ransomware and they actually ended up shutting up shop. Like, they ceased trading because they couldn't recover because even the backups had been encrypted.
Oh, wow.
So that business that like was a bit like an Eddie Stobart, but smaller, you know, like you recognize the trailers, the trucks on them. If you do a lot of motorway driving, you'll see them with like the shield and the old fashioned knights of old. Yeah. The reason you don't see them anymore is because, or as much anymore. I saw one today, which made me think of this. And I was like, wow, I thought they went out of business, and they did apparently, cease trading a year ago because of a ransomware attack.
Just reusing the trailers.
I did wonder, like maybe someone bought the trailer cheap or something like that, or maybe the business has been like rescued and restarted the brand. Maybe Knights of Old. No, It was one of the largest privately owned logistics companies in the UK, established in 1865.
Wow.
Had grown from a single horse and cart. Hang on, I'm just clicking on the link now. Had grown from a single horse and cart to an experienced and agile logistics partner with sites located, a diverse fleet of more than 250 trucks and 300 trailers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It shows, doesn't it?
yeah.
Ransomware can easily destroy business.
Yeah. It entered administration a couple of years ago now, actually. Which, it's sad. But that's the impact that ransomware can have.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate it. So I think Zapier were probably lucky there. But code, like for debugging purposes. So make sure your people are doing the right things with the data and understand the risks. That's a great one. Like if you've got devs and stuff like that, share that story with them, because you wouldn't want to be the dev that was responsible for that.
No, definitely not.
Two randoms will end up chatting about it on a podcast, and it's forever in it's on the record.
Yeah.
Right, next story is yours, Luke.
Yeah, so this one is another Apple story. It's probably never ending. This advanced data protection.
This week's Apple update.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it's going to be, I think. But I think 2 days ago it was reported that Apple are basically fighting the UK government's order with like some legal action now.
Right.
It's very hush-hush, which I'm not surprised by, but they're basically appealing to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, which is an independent UK court, I guess, around the whole thing about where, the UK government basically forced their hand to do that. But I guess, the US aren't happy with it. And that's, Apple's probably gone ahead with this, probably because of the US government, more so than anything.
It's interesting. I remember when I shared a short of this, our discussion on this, on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, maybe. And one of the things was like, I remember I said they'd just given up. They hadn't fought it at all. They'd just gone, all right, we'll turn it off then. We'll make it not available. And someone commented, like, what did you expect them to do? And this is what I expected them to do. I just expected them to leave it on while they did it.
It seems odd that now they're doing it. I feel like, the US intelligence weren't happy with it, were they? So
no.
I guess somewhere there's been discussions and they've come to this solution of a legal challenge. We'll see where that goes, although it's all very secretive and we may not really know what goes on until a decision's made.
I do wonder if there's an element of now Apple know that they've got the backing of the US government. Like, maybe, all right, actually, if we want to fight this, we've got some support. We're not.
Well, yeah.
Everyone's not going to turn against us. So, they're probably like, oh, it's quite nice to have the US government, as backing us and believing we're in the right. So we'll fight this. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. We'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah, no doubt we'll cover much more of it over the next few episodes.
No doubt. Tune in next week for the next Apple update.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've tuned in this week for the DeepSeek update, I don't think there is one. So
no,
maybe more DeepSeek next week. That's it. I mean, that in itself is interesting, isn't it? How everyone was talking about DeepSeek a couple of weeks ago, and now
don't hear much about it.
No. And I wonder whether we should probably do some investigating to find its usage, whether or not the usage has dropped or whether it still carries on. Because, it's kind of like ChatGPT, Copilot's embedded and really well embedded into like Windows and O365 and stuff like that.
Yep. Google Gemini as well now, right?
Google Gemini. And like Apple Intelligence is on, other than expanded Siri, I don't know any uses for that. But ChatGPT, people have built a relationship with ChatGPT, and I'll come on to that in a little while. So I do wonder how many people want to start from scratch with a new platform. It's interesting. But I've got something I'll bring to the table later on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Next news item's yours again.
Yeah. So this one's new scam protection for Google devices and Android. I think it's a new system that is on SMS or RCS messaging,
Right.
where it will now, with the power of AI, scan your messages and detect if it thinks there's a scam going on, and it will pop up a nice little box at the bottom of your chat window with the scam detection, likely scam. Gives you the option to say it's not a scam or to report and block the sender. But it's just a nice sort of update there for devices. Obviously, usually you see like a spam warning that this number has been known to be spam or it's been reported for spam, but quite often they are the real company. Do you want to see that a lot? But I think this is a new feature that I think is rolling out in the US, UK, and Canada first.
It'll be.
I don't know if it's coming to older Android devices, but definitely the newer ones, it seems.
I wonder where the processing for this happens, because if it happens on the device, then there's probably a minimum spec required.
You're right. It runs entirely on the device.
Right.
So it would probably be like Pixel 8 and above or whatever. And it can do call detections apparently, but you have to turn it on because it's turned off by default. But text is on by default. Not quite sure what the decision there is, but I guess maybe a bit more privacy around your phone calls. But
maybe false positives. So with anything like this, like we've seen with a good few weeks ago now, we spoke about Google's AI search result summaries, where they're not accurate. So maybe the false positives aren't as strong on this. I don't know. This though, is this not where AI is awesome? The stuff like this is where AI can be really life changing for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. Having these features that work a bit more dynamically than a more basic rule based system of some kind. But obviously, maybe there are pros and cons for both. Another part of this story as well was there's a Google Chrome enhanced protection mode, which I think is an optional thing to turn on or switch to. I don't think it's the default, but that leverages AI as well to detect phishing and dangerous URLs.
Oh,
so that's for Google Chrome.
So there's one for all of us to be aware of. If you run a phishing simulation, things are about to get tricky.
Interesting to see what happens there, actually.
So phishing vendors out there, investigate enhanced protection mode on Chrome and let your customers know how it will impact them. Don't let your customers find out for you. That would be awesome. That's going to be an interesting one.
Obviously, where that one feature works is, I think it sends your data to Google to be processed rather than this phone one where it does it on device. But that might be another thing where if you're not like a Google using business, your data could be getting shared to them.
So if you're a business if you're a Google Workspace business, you'll have various agreements with Google around what data you share with them, how they use your data, where it's stored, all of that. You'll probably have that in some kind of commercial agreement when you sign up for Workspace, definitely an enterprise space. If you don't have that and you've just got users using Google because Google's the most popular search engine and users using Chrome because Chrome's the most popular browser, and then all of a sudden all of your browsing history is sent off to Chrome, sent off to Google, then but that's interesting. Again, I've got something else. Actually, I can mention it now. I might as well mention it now. I saw, because it's kind of related to that, I saw something on... Yes, I saw a post on LinkedIn this week, and it was by Kevin B., who's a senior OSINT analyst at Big Bear AI. I don't know Kevin. I'm not a link. There was a mutual connection that liked this post. So he's using Signal to talk to his friend about the use of a website called SEMrush. Signal's the only place where he's talked about SEMrush. He hasn't accessed the site on desktop or mobile in 5 months. He hasn't searched for the site on Google or any other search engine. So he hasn't talked about it for ages anywhere until it came to Signal and he was telling his friend about it. Right. He fired up Facebook because, social networking, he says. And what do I find? An advert for SEMrush in my Facebook feed. And it came up only a few hours after he was talking about SEMrush. He had the same conversation on Signal about SimilarWeb. What happens a few hours after he talks to his friend about it? An advert for SimilarWeb on Facebook feed. Right. Another example, he spoke to a friend about a trip to Disney World and going on a Disney cruise. And a few hours later, an advertisement on Facebook for a Disney cruise. So Kevin says, to all my cyber buddies out there, what gives? Why is this happening? I imagine Google's going through all my messages, so I'm assuming it's an Android phone. Google is going through all my messages and delivering me ads based on that. I thought Signal was about privacy. So he's like, I'm using Signal, should be private. So, got any suggestions? How do you think Facebook found out about his Signal chat? I have a proposed answer because the comments were quite useful on this one.
I don't know.
Okay, so
is it glaringly obvious?
Google Keyboard.
Right.
So the general consensus was that, so he updated this post and went, so I think the consensus is that my Google Keyboard on my mobile device tracks all of my messages. I think they feed my text into an AI that topic models and keyword searches my text and sends those results to some advertising platform. Lessons learned: use incognito keyboard, delete the internet. I love talking to cyber professionals. Y'all make me want to get off the internet forever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah. And it hadn't dawned on me. Some other people said you either have WhatsApp on your phone or you're using Google Keyboard. The keyboard on your mobile captures data for federated learning programs, but really just ends up another data point for sale. And this is the thing, right? Google's free. And whenever it's free, it means you're the customer. Your data's the customer. Mm-hmm. Google's making money out of your search. If we all stopped searching Google, that product no longer has any value because there's no data. So, yeah. It's interesting. Someone else shared a link to a Netflix thing called The Great Hack, which I've not actually seen. But yeah, I thought it's 5 years old. I thought that was interesting. We'll put a link to that in the newsletter and show notes. Have I told you we've got a newsletter? I'm going to stop doing that. It's a bit cheesy. We have a newsletter. So if you listen to the podcast, if you're still listening to the podcast 23 minutes in, then you might be interested in receiving our newsletter. It goes out every Monday, every time we release a new episode, and it contains details of all the topics we discuss in the show. The newsletter is available via email, and you can sign up at riskycreative.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can join the other 450 so subscribers, getting weekly updates about the podcast and the security awareness angle on the latest news. That's the newsletter. So yes, interesting. Google's new scam protection sounds awesome. The Chrome thing sounds like something security awareness professionals need to be aware of. And there's some privacy concerns around that. But Google's listening all the time. I think that's the summary on that. Google knows everything. Right, let me move on to the next one. So this was an article I saw in The Guardian this week. And we've spoken before, we've seen stuff before about deepfakes. Martin Lewis, the UK, we spoke about this previously on a previous episode.
Yeah.
Martin Lewis is a consumer rights advocate in the UK. Big TV celebrity, has a TV program and newsletter and a website, and he basically fights for all of us to not be ripped off. And deepfakes of him selling crypto, I think it was, appeared. UK citizens, about 9 million. So let me go back to the beginning. The scammers, the Guardian says, revealed the scammers who conned savers out of $35 million using fake celebrity ads. So they were based in Georgia, and they used deepfake videos and false news featuring Martin Lewis, Zoe Ball, and Ben Fogle, 2 other UK celebrities, to promote fake crypto schemes. So they scammed thousands of savers from the UK, Europe, and Canada out of £27 million, $35 million, using fake celebrity ads on Facebook and Google that the government apparently promised to outlaw 3 years ago, but clearly hasn't happened. Okay. The scammers were understood to have still been contacting victims in recent weeks. So the Swedish public broadcaster SVT had exposed a leak of a scam call centre, and they've shared it with the Organised Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, The Guardian, and some other associations. So it's it just goes to show how it's happening. An interesting stat with this that they've said, the scammers often encouraged victims to transfer money via digital banks. And Revolut was I've had a Revolut account. Revolut's a trusted bank, but Revolut was the most common. It was the number one digital bank that was used in these attacks. More than twice as popular than Crew. And then there was Barclays and some others. So it's, yeah, it's interesting. We'll put details on the link to that. Revolut, Crew, and Chase Bank said they took fraud very seriously and invested heavily to combat an industry-wide problem. 60% of all reported spam cases, a Revolut spokesman said, across our UK customer base in 2023, we found that 60% of all reported scam cases originated on Meta-owned platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp. Yeah, these firms have no role in warning customers of such scams nor reimbursing victims. So that's interesting. There, everyone thought I was blaming Revolut, but actually it all comes back to Facebook and WhatsApp. And I wonder, you do wonder if that's where the most vulnerable people live, or it's just badly policed. I don't know. Maybe that's just where the most vulnerable people are.
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Facebook is a pretty terrible platform. You see so much just rubbish on there.
Rarely do I see a post from a friend on Facebook anymore. It's normally pages I might like, the odd page I like.
That you don't have any interest in.
No. So it's, it used to be like the news feed used to be friends, but now it's stuff you might like.
Yeah, just getting you scammed.
Yeah. So just a reminder, I suppose, with that one, don't trust. If you see something on Facebook, don't trust it. If you see a celebrity promoting anything that feels a little bit out of character, don't trust it. Like Martin Lewis promoting a crypto scheme just sounds wrong.
No.
Ben Fogle or Zoe Ball, like they're not. It's not going to happen. Just if it feels a bit funky, then just take a pause, and it's probably too good to be true.
Yeah.
Right. What have I got next? Let's get into something a bit juicier. So this one is GenAI, but I saw this in CSOonline.com and I thought this was quite interesting. Nearly 10% of employee GenAI prompts include sensitive data. So 10%, 1 in 10. GenAI data leaks from employees are an enterprise nightmare in the making. I mean, this is what we've spoken about, isn't it?
Yeah.
According to a recent report on GenAI data leakage from Harmonic, 8.5% of employee prompts to popular LLMs include sensitive data presenting security, compliance, privacy, and legal concerns. So they analysed tens of thousands of prompts to ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity during the fourth quarter of 2024. And they found customer data, including billing information, authentication data, accounted for the largest share of leaked data at 46%. Here, Harmonic highlighted insurance claims as a type of report rife with customer data that is frequently entered into GenAI tools by employees to save time in processing. So, yes, everyone knows GenAI is a problem, right? But you need to get. I find it remarkable that companies haven't battened down the hatches or haven't tried to enable their users to use these solutions safely.
Yeah, get them approved, just agreements in place. And
if you can't get them approved, then at least educate your users on the risks. Do you know what I mean?
What you shouldn't put in there. Worst case, just block it. If not,
I think we said a couple of weeks ago as well. Someone had a corporate ChatGPT license, but they preferred Claude, so they were still using Claude over ChatGPT, or they were using ChatGPT over Copilot or something like that. I know as a business, and I know in businesses they try to shrink their software stack by having rather than having 8 different graphic programs, they'll try and have one and get everyone using the same thing. And they'll do that with various different softwares. But on something like that, these AI tools need a slightly different thought process, I think. And I think part of the problem is that maybe the people making the decisions aren't actually talking to the users and the people that actually use these tools daily to find out how they use them and what they want to do with them, which I think is a challenge.
Yeah.
This leads me on to a comment we had a couple of weeks ago. I shared a video about AI, and Freya, who's the partner of a friend of mine, she commented on it. And Freya's comment really got me thinking. So Freya recently left her job and is looking for a new job. And she's basically, her issue was that she leaves her job. If someone uses a corporate ChatGPT account, then that account has all of they've taught ChatGPT how they work. And now Freya leaves and starts a new job. She's starting with a virgin ChatGPT, vanilla ChatGPT, right? It doesn't understand her. It doesn't know how she works. It doesn't understand her tone of voice. And if anyone's used GenAI, like tools like ChatGPT or Claude, they're building a profile of you, aren't they? So you can ask ChatGPT, I know I can ask ChatGPT a question and it knows how I can ask it to do something and it knows how I like it done because I've told it how I like it done, and I've told it that I need English, UK English, and not American English. And I've told it to, do things in a certain way, and it remembers. And so it knows how I work. It builds up a profile of me, almost like a consciousness. And then when you leave a job and lose that account, you can't take your consciousness with you. And it's...
Yeah, maybe people will start asking the tools that they use to give them everything they know about them and the way they create content, and then take it with them. Feed it into the next one.
That's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because it's can you transfer the soul but not the memory? That's essentially what you want to do. You want to transfer all the bits that do, but none of the bits that you get that are data. And if tools like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini can do that, and they can detach the way someone works from the data that they've shared, the first one to do that will be very successful. Freya was arguing that that's the reason why she should be using a personal account and not a corporate account. I think that was her argument. I hope I haven't got that wrong. obviously there's data protection concerns around that. That got me thinking that maybe get users to sign an NDA, maybe treat everyone like a contractor. Like a contractor, you don't always like onboard to your own tools. Sometimes they use their own, but maybe if, it's just another layer of what do we do, isn't it? In some ways.
The trouble is, well, you got to do something.
And
otherwise it's going to get leaked.
This brings us right back to the very beginning, doesn't it, of AI tools. You have to do something. You can't just I think I get the feeling still that some companies kind of aren't being very proactive in their advice, their usage, their adoption. I get that it's a minefield, but you kind of have to do something, because if you don't do something, bad things are going to happen in some ways.
Go ahead and use it and feed all this data, as we've seen with this story.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's so low. 10% seems quite low, to be honest. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I like the way they flagged a specific use case, though. 46%, largest share of leaked data was insurance. Insurance claims.
Yeah.
And then employee data, including payroll data and PII, accounted for 27% of sensitive prompts. And then legal and finance at 15. So these aren't it's really easy to assume it's your tech people using it. I've got developers using it and blah, blah, blah. These aren't developers necessarily. You've got insurance, payroll, and legal and finance. So I bet these are the ones that you wouldn't even think were your target, first of all.
Yeah.
And there's a really interesting thing. Who's using GenAI in your business? If you ask a big company that has developers, they're going to go, developers are using it. It's tech teams. According to this, they're not the ones you want to worry about. You want to worry about payroll data, PII, legal and finance, security-related information comprising 6.88% of sensitive prompts is particularly concerning. Examples include penetration test results, network configurations, and incident reports. Such data could provide attackers with a blueprint for exploiting vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
I'm just going to upload my pen test report that contains all of my vulnerabilities, and I'm going to share my entire network config, because that's not at all. And they're the things people just wouldn't. Some people might not consider a network config as sensitive data.
Yeah, definitely. Got to educate people on the do's and don'ts. Especially if you don't have any agreements in place with a tool.
Yeah. We'll get that article shared in the newsletter. It's an interesting read. It goes into more detail than we've covered here. So, that's an interesting one. I have more comments. Last week we spoke about have I been pwned, because we were both pwned. And I got a few comments on this. But one of them I thought was quite interesting, and it's from an old friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in years, called Pete. Pete is a senior vulnerability and threat management engineer. And Pete says, do you care? Why should you care? It's always the first question I ask myself when I find any vulnerability. What's the impact? What's the risk? You can mitigate some of the risk with other controls such as MFA and 2FA. So if everybody uses MFA and 2FA, if a password's exposed, it's not the end of the world. Defense in depth, yep. Keeper and LastPass, so password manager can take some of the headache away. The biggest question of all is how you ended up on that list in the first place. Did you do something wrong? Phishing, fake site? Was it in a breach of a service you use? So, that's not your fault. Or was it a compromised device that you use, keylogger or something like that? Spend some time tracing it back to the source and learn what you can from it. And that's the bit, that's the bit that with Have I Been Pwned, I struggle with. How do you track it back when it doesn't tell you necessarily what it was, especially if they're like a data aggregator service? But Pete says, and this is great advice, be mindful that you are now likely going to be targeted in some way. In some instances, he's seen it happen years or even days or even years after the original breach. So that's, I think the minute you see a notification from have I been pwned, just raise the threat level, like just be a little bit aware that you might see something a little bit spicy coming. So yeah, that was the comment I had on that, which I thought was interesting. Right. There was another video I shared on LinkedIn, and I don't know if I showed you this. Let me show you this original post.
I think I might have seen it on my feed. I'm probably shared from you.
You probably see all my stuff on your feed, and I apologise for that wholeheartedly. Have you seen the plain door one?
Yeah, I did.
So I said, imagine a world where everybody took this level of care before clicking a link on an email. That was loud. So here you can see the guy shutting the door, locking it, and he loves his job. There you go. He's checking that's shut, checking the seals, checking that there, going back and checking it again. Yep, that's good. We're good to go. So imagine if everyone, every single time everyone got an email, they took that amount of care to check that it was right, to check that it worked.
Yeah, I think definitely if it immediately sort of looks off, do the checks before you go ahead and interact with it.
Yeah.
I think at least, we're probably in a position of knowing, but you can kind of tell straight away if something doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
But obviously it depends on the time of day and situation and how you're feeling and whatever else, what device you're on. If you're on your phone, sometimes it's a lot harder to tell.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
definitely. Take a step back. And
Alison, who I've known for years, Alison's she runs her own security awareness consultancy now, I believe. Alison watched this video and then shared this post on LinkedIn. So she said, if everyone, and she raises a really good valid point, but then makes another good example, right? So she said, if everyone checked every email like this, the world would grind to a halt. It also reminded me of something I often bring to the table when talking about reducing risk without slowing down businesses. So in the distant past, I used to work as a nightclub manager and security on the door. I was a qualified SIA door supervisor and trained in managing large crowds and riot control. Managing a queue or a space with thousands of people to pass through a checkpoint of some kind can be daunting. Just think of that as an inbox. And the speed of throughput is crucial. Too fast and people might start running, or we might miss some contraband items such as illicit alcohol or weapons. Too slow and people start to crush, push in, get agitated. The right speed makes everyone, including the staff, feel good, and everyone has a great night. So it is with email that we are all the door staff. I having spent years working in pubs and stuff like that, I love this. If the message is part of an existing conversation with a colleague internally, you expected a response, wave them on through. Yeah, you can go in. Go on in, you go. If you receive an email which looks like it's about SharePoint, but the formatting is unusual, it's worth an extra pat down. Can I just give you just going to check. For a client asking you to do something outside of the normal processes, definitely worth taking them one side, check their ID, and then double check with someone else who would know to ensure it's okay before proceeding. And if it's just downright off, their name's not down and they're not coming in, and you report it immediately. And I thought that was great. I thought that was really good. And there's that, with all security, there has to be that. It still needs to be convenient, but it still needs to, be secure. And it's about finding a happy medium. If you put controls in place or huge bottlenecks, then people are just going to get their backs up, and they're not going to be on your side. They're not going to champion your cause.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really good. A really good way of thinking about it. We are the doorman, or email. Every time you get an email, you are the doorman. and you have to decide whether or not you let them in. It's a good way to check. Right, moving on to some awareness. I got a message from Hayden earlier this week about Audiocasts, which is a new feature on KnowBe4. So they've announced Audiocasts, which is now available in the mod store. The new content type takes advantage of popular media format podcasts. Audiocasts are different from podcasts, thus the slightly different name, in that they are not available via a podcast app, but are assigned as mandatory or optional training, like all of KnowBe4's other popular content types. So you haven't got access to these, but you've seen these. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen what they've got on there. Seems obviously it's quite new, so there isn't a huge amount of them, but there's already, there's lots of different series, different types, it seems. So I guess, maybe something you need to, if you have access to it and you used there before, have a little listen to them, see which ones sort of might work best. I've not been able to listen to them myself, but it'd be interesting to see what people sort of think of those, but I'm not sure if maybe if some people might just prefer to listen to something, but I don't know if you'd be able to really take it in, but it'd be interesting to know what it actually sounds like.
Yeah, well, it says here the series launches with a real-life story of an employee who successfully identified and thwarted a WhatsApp phishing attempt. The security awareness company has created several journalistic-style episodes that follow investigator Silas Carhill as he uncovers a gripping story of the company's battle with ransomware. The Twist and Shout team, based in the UK, has created story-based episodes about two investigators who retrace the steps of a dramatised hacking attack. Popcorn team, based in South Africa. So it sounds like they've gone to external content creators. They haven't come to us, but it sounds like they've come to external content creators to make content for this library, which is quite interesting. It's probably better than, going to people that are specialists in stuff like this is probably a good way to get decent content, I would have thought.
Yeah, I guess as well, it gives it a bit more variety as well, with got different voices, and maybe they even put some voices on or something. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear them. I don't think there's no previews, is there? So
Twist and Shout, the team based in the UK, Twist and Shout are the team behind KnowBe4's Inside Man series, which is their TV dramatised series. And Twist and Shout are now part of KnowBe4. So, that explains that. But they've clearly got some different countries covered: Germany, Japan, Brazil, and they're adding content to that regularly. So if you are a KnowBe4 customer, you need to be on the diamond level of KSAT. Have a look at the Audiocasts. Let us know what you think, and if we can get a listen, we'll get a listen, I suppose, and let some people know.
Yeah, that's definitely a unique and maybe quite fun way of learning about things. They're quite short as well, aren't they? They're like under 10 minutes.
Yeah,
not like a typical podcast length of up to an hour or more. But
don't know what we're talking about. Our episodes are never that long. Cool. So if you've got access to these, if you used them, let us know what you think, and if we can get a preview, we'll let you know what we think in the next week or two. I have a couple more things that I wanted to mention, and I realise there's been so much this week, but it's little bite-sized chunks, and they're all quite useful. This is one single post, and I've shared. This is from Dan Thornton at Goldfish. I probably need to connect with Dan, because Dan's full of this is the second one in like 3 or 4 weeks that I've shared that Dan's done, and it just kind of hit the nail on the head for me. I think we're probably both like-minded individuals, or he sees it the way we see it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So here he said, you can write the most airtight security policy in history, but if no one reads it, you might as well print it on toilet paper. At least then it gets some use. Employees don't have time to wade through 20 pages of legal jargon. No one is searching the company intranet for acceptable use policies before clicking a link. And if security rules aren't clear, easy, and actually enforced, they don't exist. Want security policies that actually work? Make them short. If it can't fit on a single page, it's too long. Make them clear, no corporate fluff, just what to do, what not to do, and why. Make them visible. If policies live in a forgotten PDF, they're useless. If policies can't find, understand, or remember your security policies, they won't follow them. And I thought that was just like, bang. It's like, he's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I assume there's reasons why policies often are long and probably legal reasons and stuff, but I think having a front end to policies would be good.
I think I might try and find some security policy expert and have a chat with them about this, because I don't know where someone will probably go, oh yeah, it says in PCI, or it says in SOC, or it says in ISO 27001. I don't know why policies have to be like this. Is it just, and let's face it, probably 99% of security, 99% of policies, not just security policies, are written in legalese, and they're not efficient. They're not, no one writing them has considered the engagement of the user in that policy.
No, I think people are just happy that it includes everything that they might need.
So I wonder why they are like that. I think they're like that because they are. And it's probably going to take it's going to be a bold and brave move to change that. You're going to disrupt. And if a security policy does that, the other policymakers in the business will be like, well, why has your policy changed? Why is it not like ours? It's got to be like ours, because that's what policy. So you probably need a really like brave legal team and a really brave security function, GRC function, to go, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And maybe I'll try and find out if it can be done, or how it can be done.
Yeah.
And whether or not there's any reason why it can't be done. It's interesting.
Yeah. I think like having your policies is almost like the Bible or encyclopedia or something, but then just having a way of having an accessible way of getting extra information from them, rather than having to read all 20 pages as he says.
Is this not another great use of AI though? Like, here's my 20-page policy, make it one page and engaging. Sounds like a prompt. Yeah. I had one last thing I wanted to talk about this week, and I just want to take a moment and pay our respects to a lost friend, a lost companion, and someone who sadly is no longer with us. After many years of service, I want to say rest in peace to Ublock Origin, that has finally been removed from Chrome.
I feel like that was a long time coming, wasn't it? They mentioned it a long time ago, and it's finally happened.
A few episodes ago, but now I opened up Chrome the other day, and it was like being stabbed in the heart. This extension is no longer available because it doesn't follow best practices for Chrome extensions. Your best practices. It follows my best practices. It's your best practices.
It stops us getting money.
Look at this though. 39 million users. 39 million users can't be wrong, right?
I wonder what the reviews say now. There's probably some interesting ones.
See all reviews. Been using this ad blocker for years. It's way better than the other one I use. I'm guessing the reason Google removed this because it actually works well. As we know, Google is not the company it was when it was founded. It have become something very evil. Screw Chrome and Google. Switching to Firefox at this rate. Let me browse the web how I want to browse it, not the way you like to force me to. None of y'all that made this decision are going broke because of this extension. Chrome tried to destroy it, but it just made it stronger. How's it stronger? Worst thing Chrome could have done was turn my Ublock off. I don't want those NSFW ads plaguing my computer like it's the 1400s.
Interesting.
What computer did you have in 1402? This is the best extension ever. Just turn it back on. Like everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sad day, but I'll tell you what, it will soon be forgotten about, and we'll just get used to it. But now, like Chrome, Google, do better. Stop your dodgy Google ads and stop.
Yeah.
Oh, just everywhere, man. I know it's money, but like,
You probably don't realize until you've lost the ad blocker now, and every browsing experience is now filled with ads and pop-ups.
I tell you, we ourselves, right? You didn't use an ad blocker, and I did. And there was one website that I was sharing, I was finding stories on for this show, and we'd show them in the show. I think it was Cybersecurity Info or something like that. It was one of the link aggregators, and we find the site. And I was like going to put the link in the newsletter, and then you were like, that page is full of ads. And I was like, no, it's. And then I went to it in an incognito browser, and the page was awful. There's like pop-ups and ads and all. I'm like, I couldn't share it because it was disgusting. And that's a cybersecurity website. And I was like, oh my God. And because Ublock did such a good job, I didn't see anything like that at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a sad, sad day. Sad, sad day. Right. You had a last story. Did you want to bring that?
Yeah, it's just a quick one. Goes back to our, I can't remember if it was the previous episode or the one before, but we mentioned it a few times where we've sort of boasted about how good Gmail's phishing protection is.
You're about to show how it's not.
Yeah. Could you share that on the screen? Is that possible? If not, I can drop them in after, but...
You're going to have to edit this out now. No, you're not. Right. I can't share them on the screen.
That's right. I'll pop them up in post. But
okay.
So yeah, it was just received an email. The subject line was just some random address in America that probably doesn't exist. It was 125 Pretty View Lane.
Oh my God! Yeah,
McKinleyville, and the body of the text was the exact same thing from a David M. Jackson, which was like some random string of texts at gmail.com. And there's no warnings or anything on this email. It just appears as a normal email landed in my inbox. And it had an attachment of a PayPal invoice of some kind. It was a very obvious looking scam, but I'm sure people fall for it with a dear so-and-so, not my email address, someone else's Gmail, about that I've ordered an iPhone 16 through PayPal, paid through PayPal, $835.
Wow.
And then it talks about, if you didn't approve this, you have 12 hours to do so. Please contact customer care to cancel, with a big bolded phone number, which obviously goes to a scam call center of some kind. But it's just interesting that, Google obviously don't really block their own if it's coming from a Gmail account to another Gmail account, they don't really seem to do much about it, which is a bit of a poor piece of phishing detection that they've got, scan detection. But
so that attachment, was that a PDF or
it was an image? It's probably obviously a bit harder for them to detect and stuff, but just the obscure nature of the email, the name doesn't match the details. It's like,
we've had OCR for years, right? It's not. It is literally just an image, and the minute you uploaded that to Google Photos, within minutes you'd be able to search for the content. Like if you did a search on PayPal or Apple iPhone, that image would come up in Google Photo. Like Google has the tech to stop this happening.
Yeah.
They just haven't plugged all the pieces together. And that's what's really frustrating as someone that works in this space. Like, they could do better. Google, do better. This is awful. Like, OCR in photos, they're awesome at. They're better than Apple, because when I want to search for a photo, on my iPhone, I've got Apple Photos and I've got Google Photos. And I keep Google Photos because I used to have an Android phone, but I pay Google Photos as well for more storage because it's better at searching and it's better at Face ID, I think. If I uploaded that to Google Photos, within minutes I could type Apple iPhone 16 and that would come up as a result. So why can't they go, oh, hang on, thank you for your order, PayPal, that's come as an image, and it's come from, it ticks so many boxes.
Yeah.
Do better, PayPal. No, Google, do better.
Especially when it says one attachment scanned by Gmail, and it probably says it's clean.
Yeah.
It's like obviously the scanning doesn't actually scan the contents of the image.
Then give a separate OCR, you know, the words contained in this image suggest it may be a fish, or this may be fraudulent.
Yeah, and also I've never received an email from this person before.
No.
It's probably a freshly made Gmail account, and it just comes through looking clean. So anybody that's a vulnerable user is going to look at that and potentially phone that number.
That again as well, right? Like, if that's and we're assuming, but I'm assuming correctly, probably, if that's a freshly made email account, sending a high volume of emails with an attachment, minimal body content, don't let it, like, throttle it or give it an extra check. They just don't care because it's free. That it's not monetized, and it's all, this is like, email is so broken. It's and it's people like Gmail that are at fault, and they have the power to influence. They have the power to, you know, work with Microsoft, bring in some controls together that ups, because you're the two biggest, right? If you two change stuff, others will follow. Be the influence that can make things better. Oh, it frustrates me so much. You get rid of Ublock and then you do crap like this in the same week. Rant over.
Yeah, that was it.
Right. That was it. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's us done for this week then. I had a couple more bits, but that's more than enough. I'll drop them in the newsletter. So, look, if you're still listening, subscribe, leave us a review, please, because they make all the difference. Share, tell your friends about the podcast. If you're at a meeting, a meetup, if you're at a conference, ask people if you've heard the Awareness Angle podcast. We have some cards. If you see me anywhere, ask me for one of these. I gave some of these out last week at the Think Cyber event I went to, but there was only about 10 of us there. So I'm going to Impact, CyberSafe's Impact 2025 at Canary Wharf. I'm going there in a couple of weeks, so we'll be giving some of them out. So yeah, that'll be like, subscribe, share with your friends, sign up for the newsletter, and if there's anything you want us to talk about, anything you want us to cover, Hayden from Know Before gave us a couple of great bits this week, and you know, comment, share, we'll give you a mention. So thank you, and Luke, thank you for joining and helping and being part of something awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, thank you as well. It's been a good one.
There's been a lot in this one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
it's all good stuff.
It might be our longest episode. Yeah.
Yes, close to.
Yeah.
Right. Have a great week, people.
Yep.
And have a good week, Luke. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Cool. Yeah. See you later.
Episode 16 signing off.
See ya.
See ya.